from the top on down. Here comes a 1-2 pitch. Red Sox win the World Series. 5-1 the final tonight. And the best team in baseball wins it all in 2018.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 61 of OBP, the Obsessive Baseball Podcast, presented by 714 Tickets and Grueling Truth. I'm Brett McGuire, joined as always by Jared Timms. Jared, how you doing?
Not bad. I need baseball.
I was just going to ask you, how's the offseason treating you so far?
Typical offseason, kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's a little hard at first to kind of transition when you're just so invested into baseball for literally half a year, and then it just goes away. So you try to make news out of stuff that really isn't newsworthy. So every piece of information that's thrown out there, you're just, oh my gosh, we gotta talk about this, and it gets a little hard.
The best news that wasn't newsworthy, maybe it wasn't, maybe it was, I don't know, was Bryce Harper's name being on the Chicago White Sox banner.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
I don't know, we could talk about it right now. I mean, Harper is going to have a huge market. That's going to be. I feel like most teams are going to at least throw an offer out there. Even if you're the Tampa Bay Rays and you have say you're willing to throw $200 million at him, it doesn't hurt. I mean, I don't know. But the White Sox are definitely an interesting team. I think they're going to probably pick up one key free agent. I just don't know who it's going to be yet.
It's going to be the guy. It's going to be the Eric Hosmer, Anthony Rizzo type guy that you build around.
Yeah.
I mean, not that those are good examples, but
no,
those are guys that the White Sox and the Padres have tried to build around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Obviously the 2018 season ended. We haven't podcasted since before the World Series. As you know by now, the Red Sox won. It was pretty easy. There wasn't any. It was a pretty straightforward series. Any thoughts on the Red Sox winning, or does it surprise you at all? For me, I'm not that surprised. The Red Sox had a really good team, best record in baseball. They kind of cruised through the playoffs. It's kind of predictable almost. That was just a really good team.
It was. I thought the bullpen was going to be their downfall, but their bullpen was really freaking good. And their bullpen, you win and lose contracts, and a lot of the guys won a lot of good contracts. You look at Evaldi, and he's going to get signed to a 3-year deal this offseason and make $40 million probably, right? Yeah. Joe Kelly's going to get a 2 to 3 year deal and make $15 to $20 million this offseason. So,
Kimbrel, too?
Kimbrel's going to make, am I pushing $100 million on a Kimbrel? 5 per 100?
It could happen.
20 million a year? It's a possibility. So, good for the Red Sox, good for their fans. I don't want to say it, but I guess I have to. I'm glad that the Dodgers didn't win. I'd hate to see that out here. I'd love to see it. Don't get me wrong. Cool to see the Dodgers win, but there's too many fans out here, and going to Angels games, it would kind of suck seeing Dodger fans.
Well, even more so. I feel like it would take a lot of fans away from the Angels fan base. You can only put up with so many losing seasons for so long before you start noticing that team that's playing 45 miles away.
Keyword 45 miles.
Yeah, not in LA.
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about LA, I guess we throw a little shout out, and maybe not shout out, little prayers their way right now. It's kind of shitty what's going on out there.
Yeah, these fires are terrible.
It's an
awful
24-hour span of shooting and then the fire starting. So that's just
yeah.
Any of you guys up there, if you guys are listening,
stay safe.
Stay
safe. So back to really the 2018 season. Just wanted to talk about maybe some of the surprises this year, teams and players, and maybe some of the trends that happen that we can kind of monitor moving forward. So let's start with the biggest surprise teams, so we can look at the best ones. For me, I'm looking at the Brewers. Well, they had a good year. In 2017, they had a bottom 10 payroll. I think there was some expectation they might fall back a little bit, but then they went out and signed Lorenzo Cain, traded for Christian Yelich. So I think we thought they would compete. I didn't think they would win that division and then make it to Game 7 of the National League Championship Series. I still look at that team. I'm not sure that was a team that I expected to make it that far, but honestly, it was a lot of fun seeing them make it to Game 7.
Definitely, that was a really fun team when you have the MVP or soon-to-be MVP on the team, and then you have guys surrounding him, you had key bullpen guys, really good bullpen, an interesting managerial style too, which was cool. That was probably, I think, my favorite part. Like, the World Series was what it was, but the NLCS was so much fun. Like, you just didn't know what, like, you had management, like, you had managers saying that you're starting one guy and then only going out there and throwing 4 pitches and then going into the bullpen game. I mean, that was one of the more fun series, I think, this year for sure.
No, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm excited for the Brewers moving forward. They still have some prospects in that system that could make an impact soon. They've got some young talent. Christian Yelich just blossomed into like a full-blown superstar.
We knew he was good. We didn't know. I didn't think he was good.
He took that next level. He started for power, and now this dude's like legit top 10 player in baseball.
Yeah, his mom's really hot.
Yeah, I know. We've talked about that before. That was
always bring it up.
Yeah, you got to bring it up. Oakland, 97 wins. I know you and I both talked about them as being like a maybe potential like playoff team, like maybe compete around 500, but 97 wins, competing with that rotation, like they hit the crap out of the ball. They had good defense. They had a monster bullpen. It's kind of a shame that they had to play the Yankees in that wild card game. I feel like if they were in the National League, they might have been able to make it into that division series. This is a really good team this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. This is the one team where it's like luck was on their side. Like, you have like that rotation of Edwin Jackson. Sean Manaea got hurt and is not there.
Trevor Cahill.
I said Edwin
Jackson, Cahill, Brett Anderson.
Leading the way. There's not, like, there's going to be some regression there. And they're going to go get a pitcher. And again, Billy Beane's one of those guys. He's kind of like Billy Epler, in my opinion. Super quiet, and will just go out there all of a sudden and like, wow, okay, like, let's go do this type of thing. Or he might sell this offseason. I don't know. I
think he'll retool some of the roster a little bit, but yeah, that's I don't know.
He might sell. I don't know.
Yeah,
sneaky sell team to start getting ready for 2023.
It's possible.
No,
you never want to put anything past them. Like, they traded Josh Donaldson at his absolute prime for let's say less than stellar return. So I don't know. You never know what Oakland's going to do. And then the other team in the American League that was a huge surprise was Tampa Bay. I mean, I don't want to say they were actively trying to lose, but they made all those moves before the season. They traded Chris Archer at the trade deadline. They still ended up winning 90 games in the American League East with the Yankees and Red Sox. Like, that's a team that they're going to get screwed over because they're playing in that division, but like, it wouldn't surprise me if they're winning, 85 to 90 ball games for the next couple of years. They got some good prospects. Like, if they somehow fix that rotation, like, they're going to be a good team.
They got good prospects, and they got good prospects, like, everywhere, too. Like, they're always producing. And Kevin Cash, how good is he? Like, I mean, we knew he was good. Like, and I had him on my top managers list, and like, we knew he was something special. But Kevin Cash, he's doing good things there. Like, 90 wins out of nowhere. Granted, they won like 20 of 25 at one point, which fantastic for them. But yeah, I mean, that's a fun team to watch, and that's a true, like, they got better off of Chris Archer trade. And granted, I mean, Chris Archer's a great pitcher, but that return that they got for him was something else too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're really smart in the sense that they really operate like it's a business, and baseball is, but they feel like they take that to the next level. So they always are looking to trade shorter term guys for long term. They're always looking long term, and sometimes that doesn't work out, but like sometimes it does. And I feel like they've hit that point now where they have so many good prospects, a lot of good like young talent, and even a little bit of spending money. If they decide to add like $20 million in payroll this coming season, they could be a legitimate good team for the next 2 to 3 years.
Low key, get Harper.
I mean, even if they don't get that, like, what if they go get Josh Donaldson?
Yeah.
What if they go short term and just add a short term guy, get a really good bat for a couple years? You never know.
Yeah.
And then on the opposite spectrum, Washington Nationals. I mean, that was just. You have Bryce Harper in his walk year. Juan Soto comes up and is like one of the best teenagers ever in his debut. Max Scherzer doing his typical thing. And they won 82 games. It's weird.
I don't know how that works.
It was a weird season for them, and it just felt like from the start they weren't going to make the playoffs, but you kept expecting them to come back in the race, and they just never got to that point.
Yeah.
I still like them moving forward. They still have a lot of talent, but if they have another 500-ish season, and I think Rendon's a free agent after this coming year. I don't know. Maybe you start looking to trade some of those guys off. They still have, obviously, Juan Soto and Victor Robles, so they've got some young talent, but I don't know. That was just a disappointing season in what could have been a pretty winnable division.
They were picked to win the World Series by some
I
analyst.
picked them to make it to the World Series.
Exactly. Like
I was shocked that not only did they not make the playoffs, but they weren't really even competing at the end. That was a shocker to me.
another low-key Pirates. Interesting team now.
I like the Pirates.
Selling but not selling, but
They're
maybe
doing
okay. But
they're doing the same thing that Tampa Bay's doing and Oakland's doing. They're just kind of right in that
they're there.
They're there. They might make moves to go in. They might make moves to think about next year, but I don't know. They're smart organizations. And then another surprise team, the Padres. I know this might sound weird. I didn't expect the Padres to actually even finish at like 500, make the playoffs or anything. But 66 wins. You know, they go out and sign Eric Hosmer. They've got arguably the best farm system in baseball. I think the expectation was some of those guys were going to come up and contribute. And they ended up having another bad season. You have to take a step back now and just think, like, I mean, they could still be really good in a couple years, but a lot's got to go right. They're a bad team right now. There are a lot of holes in that roster, and even with some of the best prospects in baseball, like, they've got a long way to go to get to that next stage. And in a division with the Dodgers, I mean, I don't know. It's gonna be a little hard for them to get to competing again.
Yeah, you know, that division in general, I mean, you got the Diamondbacks who are now rebuilding, who, if everything goes right, they're there. They have a lot of good pieces to trade away, too, that can get them good pieces. The Rockies, I don't see them leaving anytime soon. They have a pretty good farm system. They got guys there that can do their thing. Pitching is always weird there, but you never know. The Dodgers, who we know are going to stick around for who knows how long. I mean, granted, this Zaidi thing's kind of interesting now, but yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I didn't really think about the Padres being kind of a disappointment, but yeah, they really were. I mean, they really got to, next season, I think you got to get to 500, right? I mean, is that a successful season, getting to 500?
At least start showing that,
75 wins?
Yeah, like, start moving forward. Start getting closer to 500. Like, when I think they lost more games than they did the prior year, and I think the expectation was that they were going to try to compete at least a little bit. So, I don't know. They were just a disappointment. I just wanted to see them, I wanted to see them do kind of what Atlanta did. Like, make that big jump with some of those prospects, but it just didn't really come to fruition.
Yeah. I mean, granted, they're not a good team. They didn't put a good team on the field. When you have Travis Jankowski out there doing whatever he's got to do, and, and you bringing up all the rookies and such like that, and you can't discredit the intangibles here, and how good of a leader is Eric Hosmer, and how, it's some of those things.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, he was a sub-replacement level player in his first year of a big deal. Not a good look.
Well, we knew this was going to happen.
A lot of people, I mean, even I tried to maybe justify it a little bit, like, shortly after. Say, okay, maybe it's not terrible if he performs to...
Decent.
But the problem is he alternates his good and bad years. So, like, I don't know what he is moving forward. I just think there's something in his skill set that doesn't translate year to year, and I don't think you know what you're going to get out of him. And then just talking about some of the surprise players from this year, good and bad. Some of the good ones, I mean, some of these guys were 5-win players. Trevor Story, Whit Merrifield, Jed Lowry, Aaron Hicks. I think the most surprising guy from that group might be Whit Merrifield. That guy's really good. I mean, he's a late bloomer. He's 29 now. But he's been one of the best second basemen since he was called up. I mean, he's fast. He plays good defense. He makes contact. He's a good, top-of-the-order guy. I think the Royals should try to move him and just I think they could get a crazy haul for him right now. Guy's really good.
Definitely. No, we knew Whit Merrifield. I mean, we knew he was good. That was a guy that has always been on our list of guys that we wanted to trade for, so we knew there was something good there. Jed Lowry, on his walk year, just still coming out of nowhere. I feel like he's like Rusty Greer. He's got such an old like Jed Lowry, such an old name. Like, you feel like he's been around forever, but really hasn't. He's probably, 33, 34, 35 maybe?
He's getting up there. That kid,
he is.
He's had a good career. Like, he's obviously
like a 20-win player in his career.
Yeah, like, obviously we're not like saying, Hall of Fame, but this guy's going to end up having like a really good major league career. Yeah. And then Aaron Hicks is really good, but I feel like we knew that, but he got more playing time. But I kind of just want to bring up the fact that he was traded for, was it John R. Murphy? the catcher, who has bounced around to like 3 different teams since that trade. Like that was a horrible move from Minnesota. And Aaron Hicks is like legit now and is still like only the 3rd best outfielder on that team. Like, it's a good Yankees outfield.
It is.
And then some of the pitchers on this list: Patrick Corbin, who's obviously a free agent. Some other guys who were really good. Maybe Blake Snell and German Marquez are not surprises, but they kind of came into their own this year. Those guys were really good. Kyle Freeland had a really good year. Zach Wheeler. And then Miles Michaelis. That dude's good.
Miles Michaelis was one of those guys coming from Japan. You know, those Japanese white guys.
Well,
I don't know.
No, I mean, he came up and showed some promise, and then he was terrible, and then went to Japan, and then he developed a really good curveball, good command. He came back, and he just threw so many strikes, and I think that's kind of sustainable. That's a hell of a deal for the Cardinals. Like, he's not going to be that great in, like, maybe 2 to 3 years, but, like, right now, he's a legitimately good major league pitcher.
Yeah. Low-key, you know who you're missing off both these lists? Shohei Ohtani. I mean, okay. For me and you, we knew he was great. I'm gonna call him great right now because he was great. But did everybody else know that he was this good?
Yes, I think to an extent. I will say his hitting was a surprise to me.
Yes,
I thought the guy was going to be an average hitter,
250, 320 type of guy,
and hit maybe 15 home runs.
Yeah, not this.
Instead, now it's like he was so good offensively, and he's had so many arm issues the last couple of years that thinking about him just being a full-time hitter now is not as crazy as I thought it was like a year ago.
No.
He's a legitimate like top 15 hitter in baseball.
And everybody we talked to too was like, oh, 250, you know, like what we said, 250, 320, he's gonna hit you home, he's gonna hit you some home runs, he's fast, and he's gonna pitch. I mean, but now, like you said, like, and this is an interesting situation we have in 2020, which we probably shouldn't talk about now, but it's an interesting situation.
No, it's definitely, when that time comes, I'm going to be fascinated to see what they do because I feel like the Angels tried so hard to monitor his schedule, test him for like fatigue, make sure he was on track, and it didn't work. He had to undergo Tommy John surgery, so I don't know. I feel like maybe they just throw all that away and just say, okay, let's just go out there, let him hit, let him pitch whenever he feels like pitching. We'll just see what happens, but he's forever going to remain fascinating.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm hoping he's back in April. I'm hoping we don't have to wait till like May to see him hit. I want to see this guy just rip it for a full season because he could probably hit 30, 35 home runs. Wouldn't surprise anybody.
30 guy?
It's possible. Could happen.
Run.
If he's not pitching, I mean, he could probably run a little bit more when he's on the bases.
Yep.
And then some of the disappointment players. Eric Hosmer, we talked about him. Chris Davis, -3 wins. Replacement.
Is that really a surprise? I mean, Chris Davis is just not a good player.
-3 wins is crazy. That is so unbelievably bad to, like, and the fact that the Orioles continue to play him, not that they had some, like, other replacements or something, but come on now. I mean, that's...
At that point, you had one of the worst years of all time. Like,
wasn't
if
it?
you continue it, do you just say, hey, here's your money, go? Type of thing?
He's going to get DFA'd, probably, I think, next year. I don't think it's that crazy.
He's making so much... Like, I don't think we've ever seen somebody with this...
I think you DFA him, and then obviously like another team has to make a deal for him, and then maybe you receive like, is any team willing to give up?
Nobody's gonna want him.
$10 million
Like if he starts
over like 5 years.
If he starts the season and like we're talking like mid-May, and he's already at like a -0.7 WAR, like
you got to
is any team gonna want him? Like you're gonna be paying him 25 million or something, 25 million to sit in AAA for you, out in Norfolk or wherever it is.
Yeah, I think he's toast. I'm convinced he's done. Like it's pretty much impossible to come back from that poor of a level. Like he wasn't just kind of bad. He wasn't just really bad. He was like historically terrible.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I actually forgot to mention some of the surprise relievers this year that were really good. Blake Trinan has always been interesting to me because he throws a really hard sinker, but he was the best relief pitcher in baseball this year by like pretty much every stat. Wins above replacement, ERA, ground ball rate, strikeout rate, walk rate. The guy is incredible.
That trade looks really good for him now too.
Looks like a hell of a trade.
Yeah, I want to get to another guy that is one of my surprises, but that other guy, you got one more guy on the surprise list.
Josh Hader.
Josh Hader.
The whole Twitter fiasco aside, we're just talking about him as a player. He's incredible. His stuff is so... He's going to be good for, like, the next 5. He's the next, like, Andrew Miller. This stuff's incredible.
Yeah,
he's gonna strike out like 40% of hitters for like the next half decade. Like this guy's just crazy good.
Sean Doolittle.
Yep.
Low key, like top 5 reliever in the past 3 years, and nobody talks about the dude.
I'm going to bring Sean Doolittle up later in the podcast when we're talking about some stuff. But Sean Doolittle is really good. You're totally right. Like, no one talks about this guy, and he's awesome. Yeah. Pretty much every single season.
Yep.
So let's talk about some of the trends in baseball, because there was a couple things that happened this year that I think are at least worth noting. So obviously, 2017, we had the huge power season. It was the record-breaking year. There was just home runs hit at a crazy rate. There was 6,105 home runs. In the same time, the strikeouts were going up. We know this. There's more strikeouts, more walks. This year, strikeouts went up. Home runs went down by 500, nearly 500. That's a lot. And it definitely means that we're probably moving towards a pitching-friendly league again. I think last year we assumed maybe some of it was related to the baseballs and stuff. I think whatever Major League Baseball wasn't telling us about the baseballs got fixed, and now it's neutralized again. So I think we're going to see just a lot of strikeouts the next couple of years. I personally don't mind it a lot. I would like to see the ball put in play a little bit more, but I do enjoy watching some of these pitchers go out there and just pitching is so good right now. Pitching is incredible.
It is, yeah, I know. For me, I need more than just, well, it's up 1 year, it's down 1 year. Like, I need 3, 4, 5 years of consistency. Like, if they hit 6,000 home runs this year, and then they go out and hit 6,500 next year, that's a trend that's going to start getting a little bit alarming, that, you know, these guys are doing something crazy. Not saying steroids or anything like that, but the balls, maybe there's something up there. Or vice versa. If, you know, we're going to see, you know, we start seeing, you know, we had 21% strikeout rate. We're going to see 22 this year. If we see 25 next year, then it's like, well, you know, the dead ball era is coming back type thing. Not necessarily dead ball, but like maybe they call it the live arm era or something like that. It's going to start coming around. And I like where we're at. Like, there's an even amount of hitter. There's an even, like, we have one of the best pitchers of all time pitching. Maybe two of the best when you think about it. And we have one of the best hitters of all time, Mike Trout.
Yeah.
And pitchers, Kershaw and Scherzer, right? I mean, those two. I mean, there's never really been a time where it's been this good with talent. And I think that's why.
Yeah, you know? Baseball is really good right now. That's another point I want to talk about. We might as well talk about it right now. This is, I guess you call this a trend. It's something that I think the smart baseball people noticed this year, but some of the people that are covering baseball need to stop complaining about what's wrong with baseball. Like, baseball is awesome right now. You can point to the ratings and stuff and all that and whatnot. Your job as an analyst and some of these writers, like, I like Tom Verducci, but there were a couple times where he wrote articles complaining about certain things in baseball. Like, that's not your place. Your job is to talk about the sport. You're trying to promote the sport, and it's something we saw in the World Series with Joe Buck and John Smoltz. Like, they were just complaining about certain things, like the shift and the bullpen and guys striking out, all this kind of stuff. Like, just enjoy the game.
Yeah.
These are the best baseball players ever. Like, baseball players continue to get better, and like you just said, like, this is the most talented baseball pool we've ever had. Like, I'm convinced that these are the best players that has ever been run on the field.
Unless you want to count, like, when like Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, and Walter Johnson all played together. I think they all played together, right? Maybe in the same area there. That's pretty good right there, and that's probably the last time that we've really seen this good of players. Like, I mean,
but even I still feel like it's better right now. I mean, look at the position players this year. How many, like, 8-win players, 7-win players were there this year? We had, I wrote it down, there were 74 pitchers who threw at least 50 innings this year and averaged 95 or more on their fastball. Like, throwing 95 miles per hour now is like, it's almost like a prerequisite to make it into baseball. Like, if you're throwing like low 90s, your chances of making it are so much slimmer. It's crazy how good baseball is now, and I feel like the people that are covering it need to do a better job of, like, talking about how great baseball is. Because if you're pushing people away by some of the comments you're making, that's not helping the game of baseball. Baseball's awesome right now.
I'll say this. Actually, let's I got a question.
Yep.
I saw this, I don't know where it was, some Instagram post, but if you were the commissioner for one day and you could change one rule, what would it be? Since, we think baseball is perfect right now, is there one rule that you'd want to change?
One rule to change. This is going to put me on the spot.
I got it. I'll let you think.
Go for it.
Strike zone. Is there a time that we can talk? Like, is there?
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing that needs to be addressed eventually. And I had it down. I had within a 3-inning span in the World Series, there were 10 calls missed, and that can't happen in the World Series, especially like the regular season. That's fine. You're playing game 57 in the 6th inning, and Joe West missed 2 strike calls. That's going to add up, obviously. But I just think the strike zone eventually needs to be addressed.
You know what? That's probably my answer too.
I think that's the one thing. Like, there's not. I don't think like the shift. Like the shift isn't that big of a deal for me. It's just.
I like the shift. I think it's strategic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The
strike zone needs to be fixed because if we're going to use technology for instant replay to try to get the calls right, why are we not doing the same thing for the strike zone? Why are we not using technology that's readily available to help create a better environment? Like, I know there's traditionalists that are going to say it's going to look weird to have like robot umpires. I understand, but the goal is to try to get the calls correct. And you don't want, there shouldn't be umpires like, oh, I like pitching this umpire. Like, no, like the umpires are out there to make the correct calls. So yeah, that would probably be my next move. I don't know how you go about just implementing that like right away, but yeah, I think my first step would be like, let's start getting this all around the minor leagues, see how it works, see what we need to fix, and then in the next couple of years, you implement it.
Or maybe, what do you, like, do we have an idea here? Like, does the umpire wear glasses that...
That's my thought.
Like, you have glasses, or maybe you put, like, an earpiece in that tells them, like, oh, strike ball type of thing, or...
Yeah.
I don't know. There's definitely something that has to be. That's the one thing that if I'm going to complain about baseball, that's got to be...
Yep.
It's got to be it.
Yeah, there's not much else that I'm really... I love baseball the way it is right now, so I'm kind of with you.
Yeah.
So I think Jared and I are going to start a little series of talking about the Angels' deficiencies and then just talking about which players make sense, talking about like their current situation, maybe even looking down the road at what pitchers could help like next year, the year after that. So let's talk about the Angels' pitching. This is both the rotation and in the bullpen. I think we're both aware that both those spots could definitely use some improvements. So let's start with the rotation. Right now, there's just a lot of problems. Shohei Ohtani out for 2019. Garrett Richards, who was the number 2 starter coming into last year, obviously had Tommy John. He's a free agent. So the top 3 starters right now, Andrew Heaney, Tyler Staggs, Jaime Barria. That's not really what you want for a team that's expecting to compete. They were 19th in ERA, 19th in wins above replacement last year. You take away Richards and Ohtani's, roughly 130 innings they had last year, and this is probably a bottom 5 pitching staff right now, or rotation. So, obviously, just like years past, I feel like there's a decent amount of potential options, but again, a lot of these guys are hurt. Matt Shoemaker hasn't been able to stay healthy. Nick Tropiano, same situation. J.C. Ramirez is coming back from his Tommy John surgery. Alex Meyer just had a setback for his shoulder injury. Felix Pena, do you feel confident with Felix Pena being your number 4 or 5 starter next year?
No.
I don't. No. So it's a problem. It needs to be addressed, and we'll talk about this in just a sec, but there's a lot of guys that they can add through free agency or trade, and we'll probably start breaking some of those guys down. Bullpen. You like the bullpen maybe a little bit more than I do. And it's funny because like last year we were on the opposite spectrum, I think. I think I was more high on the bullpen. You were a little bit lower. But right now I don't see enough impact guys. Like I was just talking about the fact that there's so many pitchers throwing super hard now. And the Angels have a couple guys, but there's just some guys in this bullpen that they just don't have the stuff to be competing in today's day and age.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think there's a good start. I think the Angels have a good mold on what they got going. I think, like we've seen, they're missing a piece or two, and they're missing the depth. Especially if you're going with a bullpen game every 3 days.
Yeah.
Like the Angels
Yeah,
were.
that was hard.
And I mean, I can get into it all day. I think, like I said, you brought up Felix Pena being a starter. I think if Felix Pena is starting for you, is in your starting rotation on opening day, you're destined for failure. And I think you really looking at it now, what the Angels did last year wasn't going to work. And we saw it from the beginning. 5 innings out of your starter for the whole year and then throwing your bullpen isn't going to work. They averaged the most innings pitched, I think, the bullpen did, like the whole year, I think. It was pretty close, if anything. So that's something I think they need to work on. I think it starts with the starting pitching, like you said. If the starting pitching is good, the bullpen's going to be good. And I think, like I said, the mold is there. They just need to get those pieces, and luck is going to have a little bit to do with it as well.
Yeah. We've seen Epler try to construct bullpens without throwing too much money at it, but I do think if they're in a situation where if the right guy comes along this offseason, I think they should at least have open ears about it. Ty Boutre was really, really good when he came over. There's a lot of things about him, like his fastball, his breaking ball, spin rate, some of his StatCast stuff. I think he's their best reliever moving forward. I think he's really, really good. Justin Anderson throws really hard, has a pretty good slider, doesn't throw a lot of strikes. Blake Parker, numbers were pretty good, but the home run problems were kind of a worry last year. Jose Alvarez is pretty darn good and isn't really talked about too much, but not sure you want him to be your top reliever moving into next season. And then after that, I'm just not quite sure. I mean, Taylor Cole was good last year. He started throwing his slider more, but not sure he's going to be a reliable guy moving forward. Cam Bedrosian, I'm not sure what to expect at this point after having that. He had the blood clot in 2016 during his really good season. Just hasn't been the same since then. And then after that, I'm not convinced that there's enough there. So I think they're going to probably make a couple moves to try to beef up the bullpen. I just don't know how much money they're actually going to spend on it.
I'm with you on that. It's, like I did a little article on Halo Haven and all that fun stuff. But Ty Buttery, like you said, I think that's going to be a big piece. Jake Jewell coming back from injury, I liked what I saw there. He's another guy that threw pretty hard. Williams Jerez, I don't know if there's anything there. Left-hander that throws hard, kind of maybe could be interesting. They picked up Luke Farrell. I don't know what's going to happen there. Probably nothing.
Probably nothing, but
Taylor Cole. Taylor Cole's interesting, and I know you really, really like him. I'm not huge on Taylor Cole, but it's another interesting piece there.
He's like I said, he started using a slider last year, and his contact rate went down like 10%, which is pretty noticeable. But it was 30-something innings, and he's still a guy that throws like 91 to 95. Like it's not I don't know what's there, but I think he's at least interesting enough to be like a bubble guy. Just not sure I'm confident if he's like your 4th or 5th best reliever.
Keenan Middleton's coming off Tommy John. We don't know about that. J.C. Ramirez, same thing, coming off Tommy John. Probably not going to be ready until mid-season, if he's even ready next year. I like Ramirez out of the pen.
I do too. I really like him.
Meyer had a setback already, so no idea what's going on there. Tropiano, and another injury-prone guy. I just think that at some point, and I wonder if it's this offseason, you're going to start clearing house with some of these guys.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same opinion. Like, I feel like they've given some of these guys enough chances. Like, enough's enough. Start trying to find guys from outside the organization. I don't know where you look. I don't know if there's some sort of trait you need to start targeting, like in certain pitchers. You get, like you said, like at some point you need a guy that's going to go out there and throw you like 150 innings, 175 innings, even if they're not the highest quality. Like, you can't have these guys going out there throwing 3 to 5 innings. It's just going to tax your bullpen. It's just not going to work.
Yep.
So we did a little activity. We asked some Twitter followers to name 2 of the pitchers that the Angels should sign this offseason. We didn't talk about financials, how they were going to get them. We just wanted to see what fans were thinking, and we'll just run down the list and just talk about each pitcher and if they make any sense. So, first one from Duran Swanson, Marcus Stroman and Robbie Ray. Love those guys. They're both really good pitchers. I don't know if you're going to get both of them in the same offseason. If you're trying to get Stroman and Ray, you're talking about giving up everybody. You probably don't have to give up Adele in any of those trades, but you're looking at Marsh, Jones, Canning, Suarez. You willing to do that for those guys? I mean, maybe a couple of those guys for one of those pitchers. I'm not sure I want to get both of them. So I think one or the other would be my choice.
Well, I don't think it's going to take that much to get Stroman anymore. I think we talked about it. I think it's Suarez and maybe another piece there. And Stroman's a good pitcher and he's got the time there, but I don't think it's going to take all that much. Robbie Ray though is really freaking good in my opinion. Strikes out a lot of guys. I think he made the All-Star team last year or maybe the year before. Robbie Ray I think is going to take 3 pieces. I mean, whether that's Marsh, Jones, and another guy, Renifo or something like that. I don't know, but Ray's definitely going to be more than Stroman. And like you said, at the end of the day, it's going to take 5-6 guys that nobody's going to want to trade away.
Yeah, and I'm not sure the Angels feel like they're in that spot to trade that many prospects, especially a lot of, I feel like, decent starters, at least quality starters on the free agent market. Like, I'm not sure they should go for trading for 2 big names.
Yep.
Second one, Andrew Rhodes, Dylan Bundy, and Craig Kimbrell. This is interesting. I actually don't agree with either one. I don't want to pay that much money for Kimbrell based on what he's done in his past because he did show some warning flags in the playoffs a little bit. I still think he's going to be a really good reliever maybe for a year or 2, but I'm just not sure I want to put up that much money for him. And then Dylan Bundy is interesting. I guess like if he was if he came cheap, sure, depends what the price is on him, but he's been hurt, he's been inconsistent. I'm not sure what he is at this point. I'm not sure he's going to be a huge difference maker in the rotation. I don't know if you feel differently.
Bundy's like Andrew Heaney. I feel like they're pretty similar, in a way.
Heaney's better, but why do you think they're similar?
I just think that they're similar. Like, I have nothing that backs it up. I think they're both guys that were top prospects at one point that haven't panned out to be what we thought they were going to be. Heaney's obviously, I think, in the long run, a little bit better, and Bundy's shown some signs. I think Bundy's a good bullpen guy. Like, I feel like Bundy is going to be the next Wade Davis.
Like Nick Tropiano?
I like Nick Tropiano.
So, interesting proposal. I'm not sure that's the route I'd go, but I do appreciate like the creativity. Next from Chu Barrera, Kelvin Herrera and Mike Clevenger. Herrera would be cool. I don't think they have the pieces to get Clevenger, and I'm not sure that's a piece that Cleveland wants to move. Would love to get him. Would love to go back in time and undo that trade for Dipoto, but I don't think Clevenger is going to get traded. Top 10 starter last year. He's probably got 4 years of club control. He's young. He's figured it out. Pitched a lot of innings, struck guys out, didn't walk guys. Like, he's legit.
Yeah, I don't think it's a question on if they have enough, because I think it takes a Dell and a piece to get him. But I'm with you. I don't think the Indians are ready to give him up. I don't think they're ready to give. I mean, Bauer's interesting, I guess. I don't think they're going to give up. Crosco's probably. I mean, the pitching they'll probably give up. I think Clevenger, like we said, is that one guy that I don't think they're going to give him up.
They're already shopping Carrasco and Bauer just because they have less years of control. I think Cleveland just values that club control too long. Like, wouldn't surprise me if Clevenger was worth 15 wins above replacement over the next 4 years. Like, that is just so valuable. Like, it'd have to be a huge deal to get him.
Yeah, and I mean, since we're on Cleveland, I heard Kluber's asking price is just astronomical,
and it should be.
Absolutely,
the guy's amazing, and he's on a crazy contract still. I think he's only got 2 years of control now, maybe 3, but still just crazy cheap. Like paying for a reliever.
It's like for Trout.
Yeah,
like that's what. Yeah,
the value's crazy. And then Kelvin Herrera,
interesting.
He throws really hard. I don't love his peripherals. I don't like that he doesn't strike out a ton of guys, but he's definitely interesting. And given how deep this market is in relievers, he might come at a cheaper cost. So he's definitely someone I'm keeping my eye on for sure. Next one from Ryan, Kelvin Herrera again, and Raisel Iglesias. I love Iglesias.
Huge on Iglesias too. I think that's another guy that's going to cost a lot. A lot of big team, a lot of club control on him left. I think he's a 2022 guy. So at least 4 more, 3. I mean, actually, it might be 2023. So at least 4 more years left on him. But yeah, it's a guy that he's gonna cost you.
Yeah,
he's gonna cost you Marsh and Jones and maybe another piece.
The Reds are actually a pretty good fit for trades with the Angels. They're definitely like, I think we've talked about Tucker Barnhart. Luis Castillo's another guy who might be an option for the Angels. Dude's really good. Mm-hmm. And then Iglesias, yeah. I mean, I like him. He throws hard. He's got a wipeout slider. Would be the best Angels reliever probably right away, yeah. I would say. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, let's move on to the next one. Scott Heathcott. What's going on, Scott? He names 2 Boston Red Sox. Eovaldi, Joe Kelly. I like both of them. I do. I don't love giving Eovaldi more money now just because of his market's going to be crazy now. Like, in this scenario that, like, the Red Sox didn't make the playoffs and Eovaldi became a free agent, he'd probably be making half the amount of money that he's going to make now. But because he had such a absolutely ridiculous October, I feel like his asking price is going to be a lot higher. And I think he's really good, but it still worries me that he's had 2 Tommy John surgeries. And he threw a lot of innings in the playoffs. I mean, he had that game, the Game 3 performance where he threw 100 pitches in a game he wasn't supposed to pitch. Like, that worries me for a guy that has had injury problems. So I'm actually a little anti-Eovaldi now.
No,
it sounds crazy.
I'm huge. I don't want Eovaldi at any cost. Like, okay, not at any cost. At the cost that he's going to be, because like we talked about, he's going to be 3 for 40, and that's not something that I'm prepared to give Nathan Eovaldi, who was 2 Tommy Johns in, maybe not 3 for 40, but he's going to get something. He's going to get something astronomical from somebody stupid, and it's going to backfire on him because he's going to have his 3rd Tommy John, and he's going to be done. Like, he's 1 Tommy John away. He's 1 injury away from basically having to retire. So
yeah, it scares me, and like, it could be wrong. I mean, if that stuff maintains, even if he's throwing 125 innings in a season, he's like a 3-win pitcher. He's good. But just too many warning flags for me. Joe Kelly, I love Joe Kelly. I'm not sure I want to go more than 2 years on him just because his track record actually isn't that great. He throws really hard. He started throwing a better slider this year, so that's definitely encouraging. He's a hometown guy. Makes sense in that regard. I would say if you can get him on like a 2 for 15 type of deal and he fits in your budget, like, yeah, maybe you go for it, but I'm not sure. How do you feel?
I'm with you on that. 215 makes sense, and I think that's right about in the right market for him. And everything else, like you said, makes sense. UCR guy, or UC Riverside, for you, those guys who don't know. Went to high school out here, too. I believe he did. But, yeah, the track record isn't quite there, but he showed enough where it was like, all right, let's give him a try.
Yeah, definitely. Let's look at the next one, Jacob Firmage, Trevor Cahill, and Julio Teheran. I like this one. I think it's interesting.
This is an Angels move, and Firmage knows what he's doing after talking to us enough. We've been huge on Cahill for a while, and he showed it.
I love Cahill. Cahill is...
he's been on 500.
Cahill's awesome. Like, the guy, even if he's a reliever, like, the guy's been good for the last couple of years. I'm a fan.
As a reliever. And Teheran, I mean, that's a good buy low on him almost type of thing.
Yeah.
He's not worth that much. I think he's a free agent in 2021, maybe has a year or 2 left. And he wasn't spectacular. He's got a couple All-Star games under his belt just because the Braves weren't very good. But another really interesting guy. I like Teheran, and I think the first that we heard about it was Fletcher. I didn't even think about Teheran, to be honest.
Yeah, I like that he's durable. He's not quite as good as we thought he was going to be, but I think he'd be fine as a 4 or 5 starter. Like, I have no problem with that.
As long as he pumps out 170 innings for me, I'm okay.
If he gives you an ERA around 3.75, around 4, like, yeah, I would be
going to give you a chance to win every single time he pitches. Like, I have no doubt in the Angels' offense this year. Like, I think they're going to be plenty fine.
Yep. Next one from Miggy Miggs. Possible trade package for TJ McFarland and Hirano from Arizona. He's saying both wouldn't cost anything and were doing really well last year. That's actually an interesting one. Arizona's going to be selling. Those guys aren't going to fetch that much in return. And I don't like Hirano quite as much, but I really like McFarland's ground ball rate from a lefty. 68% ground ball rate as a lefty. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of trading for, like, slightly above average relievers, but I think it's an interesting situation where both those guys probably fit in the Angels bullpen if you can get them for the right price. Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, it's so tough to try to find reliever candidates and to trade for. Like I didn't even never even would have thought about these guys, to be honest. Like McFarland, great, like you said, he's good ground ball rate, all that fun stuff. Hirano, I don't know what he's going to bring to the table. He's the sidearm guy, right? He's pretty crazy. Throws 75 miles an hour. Not something that I'd like out of the pen. That's just me though. Like then again, that could be a nice contrast, and I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of that one.
2.44 ERA last year.
That one's 75. What was this?
His peripherals were pretty average for the most part, but when you're throwing from that weird angle, sometimes you just get that weak contact and it works. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind those guys. I think both of them probably fit in the Angels bullpen, and that might kind of clear up some of those issues that we were talking about. Enrique, what's going on, man? Joe Kelly and Gio Gonzalez. So I think we both said we're on board with Joe Kelly.
Yep.
Gio Gonzalez, I think for similar reasons as Julio Teheran, throws a lot of innings. That's valuable. He's 33 now. His ERA jumped up into the fours last year, but he's interesting to me. Like, I would probably take a chance on him. I don't think I'm willing to give him more than 2 years, probably not more than $10 million a year, but interesting guy. Yeah, I think he's kind of a boring addition, but he makes sense.
Such an Angels guy. He's talking boring additions. Yeah. Good curveball. That's always stuck out to me. Just give me a guy, and he's going to give me innings. Another guy who's going to give me 170. If you can find a way to get Teheran and Gio Gonzalez at a cheap price, that makes your team that much better. That makes Angels that much better, and makes you can put innings out there as long as they stay healthy, 170 innings each. Not going to give you anything crazier than a 3.5 plus, so I'm okay with that. They're going to let the offense do what they're going to do. Mike Trout's going to be Mike Trout.
Yeah.
I said.
Yeah. Next two, both say just Eovaldi. So I think we talked about him enough. It's a hard pass for me. The guy was really good, but I just feel like it's just going to be an overinflated market. And I feel like his price is going to get kind of out of range. So next one from Ryan, Dallas Keuchel and Julio Teheran. Talked about Teheran. Dallas Keuchel is a tough one for me. I'm struggling with him because
it's going to be so much money.
He's going to be 31. You're paying him from probably age 31 to 35. He's not a guy that relies on – he doesn't throw hard right now. So I'm unsure how he's going to age. And he has had some injury problems. He didn't have any last year, but the 2 years prior to that, he had some injury problems. I don't know. This is a tough one. He's probably going to get 4 or 5 years, close to $100 million. I don't know if I'm willing to go that high for a guy that's probably going to be a number 3 starter, maybe number 2 starter right away, but I feel like the drop-off could be pretty drastic at some point. But I don't know. He's a smart pitcher. He's pitched with lesser stuff. I don't know. That's
a more expensive C.J. Wilson?
Yeah, I feel like, no, that's actually not a bad comparison. I feel like CJ was more stuff where Keuchel's more command, but I don't know. I don't love giving a 5-year deal to a pitcher over the age of 30. That's just how I'm feeling.
More expensive CJ Wilson, in my opinion. CJ was great for the first couple of years, so I guess that might pan out. Was totally worth his contract, but I don't want to pay $100 million for Dallas Keuchel.
Yeah, kind of agree. Next one from Jerry Jimenez. I think he's referring to Sonny Gray, Patrick Corbin, and Andrew Miller. So he exceeded the 2 that we talked about, but I'm actually interested to talk about some of these guys. Sonny Gray makes a lot of sense. He makes a lot of sense for a lot of teams. So he's cheap. He's a really good bounce back candidate. The guy was never an ace, but he was a quality pitcher for 3 or 4 years. And I'm not really sure what's happened to him. His stuff is there. The command seems like it's there, but his results just haven't been good.
He makes a lot of sense for 29 other teams, and someone's going to buy low on him, and he's going to have a Cy Young type year this next year. You heard it here first. You're welcome. And the team's not going to do good, or he's going to lead, the team to the playoffs or something like that, and he's going to get paid, and or he's going to get traded. I really like everything about this. Like you're not giving up that much for 1 year of Sonny Gray, who was really bad last year, who lost his starting job in New York, didn't make the playoff roster, I don't think either. So the Yankees have no leverage there. I just like everything about this. You're gonna yes, absolutely. Why not take a chance on him? You're gonna give up some random reliever,
I pretty much agree. Next guy he mentioned was Patrick Corbin, who I love that guy. He's sick. He's going to be really good. I think he's a top 10 starter moving forward. He's going to cost a lot. I think his asking price is probably going to push like $120 million over 6 years.
It's at five
which is
for 125. That hard.
That's not that bad. People got to realize that that's not that much money in today's day and age. It's just a matter of, do you want to pay? It's really more about the years. Do you want to pay a pitcher money, guaranteed money for 6 years, 5 years? That's what it comes down to. Corbin does have the Tommy John in his history, but he just threw 200 innings. He made a lot of strides. He throws hard. He's got one of the best breaking balls from a left-hander in all of baseball. He throws strikes, gets his ground balls. The guy's really good. Immediately would be the Angels' best starter. I'm not opposed. I'm really not. Depending on how the offseason shakes up, if they decide to trade some prospects for a position player and they feel like they can fit Patrick Corbin, I'm on record of saying it. I'm not opposed. He's really good. The Angels are in a spot where, honestly, I'd rather spend money in free agency and not give up some of the bigger prospects. Do you feel the same way? Or would you rather trade prospects for your guys right now and save money in free agency? Like right now, I feel like the Angels are in a position where they've got some money to spend, so they got to use it. Go ahead and use it.
Yeah, you didn't spend money as much as we thought they were going to spend last year, and I guess it kind of worked out, kind of didn't. I'm in a tough spot right now because, I mean, if you extend Trout, I think that's got to be goal number one. Like, I don't think you sign anybody until you're able to extend Trout, because if you're not able to extend Trout, then go out and spend money. Go out and spend money. Save your guys. Don't go trade Adele. Don't go trade Marsh. Don't go trade any of those guys. But go spend your money right now and try to win one with Trout. You got the best player in baseball. Go do that. But if Trout extends, then I'm okay. Take a step back. You maybe want to give up a Marsh type of guy. You're going to spend that $40 million. But you're not in a every year's a win type of thing. Like, you want to win, but if you extend Trout 2019, you don't have Ohtani pitching. You don't have any of that stuff. He's going to hit. Why go out and try to win? Like, I mean, I want to win, but I just don't like. It's super close. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the Angels need to try to win because we don't know what's going to happen with Trout yet. That's the tricky thing. So like, I'm at the point now where I feel like they've got to try to. Don't go be stupid. Don't go trade Joe Adele for Jacob deGrom or something and like try to go all in the next 2 years, but like make a move to try to get the team to the playoffs. Like, I'm not opposed to throwing some money around this offseason. Like, even if they're pushing close to that luxury tax, like, you worry about that down the road. I know people are worried about, like, even myself, like, oh, well, what about when they have to extend Trout? Like, what if they're right around the luxury tax? And you make it work then. If they're over the luxury tax for 1 year because they have to extend Mike frickin' Trout, like, so be it. Like, try to win right now. Worry about the Trout extension. If they bring it up this offseason, great, but like they've got to try to put a competitive team on the field. Sorry, we kind of went off on a tangent right there.
Yes, we did.
Next guy was Andrew Miller. I'm staying away from him. I mean, he could be a bounce back guy, but he just wasn't very good last year. Velocity was down, strikeouts were down. He's getting older. He was used quite heavily in Cleveland. Kind of seems like one of those guys I'm going to avoid. I mean, he could bounce back, but I'm not going to bank on him being what he was before. So
one for 5, 1 for 6, I'm okay. Get that 1 year deal, and if the Angels aren't doing well, that's a reliever that could possibly be doing well at the trade deadline, and you can get a piece for him.
Yep, pretty much agree. Next one from Timmy V. Patrick Corbin, mentioned again. Corey Kluber.
We talked about that. You want to give up a to get Kluber, it's going to be. I don't think you have enough. I actually don't. It's going to be Adele, Marsh, Jones, Canning. I think that's close, right?
Yeah. I need to pull up his contract page really quick because I need to figure out when he's a free agent. Yeah.
It's going to be
Kluber
It's going to be your 4 top prospects.
Kluber is incredible and has been insanely affordable for it seems like a decade now. It hasn't been that long, but the guy signed such a team-friendly deal.
Yeah.
He's under control through 2021, so he's got 3 more years. He's going to get paid $13 million next year, $13.5 million the following year, and $14 million that following year in 2021.
Yeah,
he's crazy cheap. If he was a free agent right now, he would make he'd sign a $550 million deal, maybe more. He's really good. So if you're trading for him, like Jared said, you're talking about Joe Adell, Jones, Marsh, Canning. I mean, it's going to cost a lot. So I'm going to say no on Kluber, but I don't know. If there's trade talks, that would be absolutely fascinating.
Here's an interesting question. Angels tried to trade for Miguel Cabrera a while back, right? How similar is that to now? Trying to trade for Corey Kluber.
It's
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, Kluber's a little bit older than Cabrera was, so it's a little different. But yeah, you have to. Sometimes you don't want to hoard your prospects. If the Angels could somehow get Corey Kluber without giving up Adell, I think I would do it. I think I'd be willing to give up the 4 next best prospects after Adell to get Corey Kluber.
5 next best.
Corey Kluber gets the Angels to the playoffs, maybe. He's a 5 to 6 win pitcher every single year.
Are we talking ourselves into wanting to trade for Corey Kluber?
I'm just saying I'm open to the idea. I know the prospects are good, but at the same time, you've got Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, Andrelton Simmons all on the same team. If you add Corey Kluber, 3 years of him, that's crazy valuable. The next one is actually even crazier. I don't know if this was sarcastic or not, but from Jay, Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. I am not opposed to the Angels having 2 of the best starters in baseball, but how do you go about acquiring these guys? If we're talking about what we just gave up for Corey Kluber, what's it going to cost to get the top 2 National League Cy Young contenders, right? I know Scherzer's more expensive and deGrom has less control, but I'm pretty sure you're just going to dump your top 8 prospects.
I don't think you could. I don't know.
I don't even know if that's enough.
No.
The Angel system has gotten good, but I'm not sure.
I don't think they have enough. I really don't. One of them, yeah. I don't think you have enough for both of them.
That's
a good question.
Max Scherzer, I'm actually because if you trade it for Scherzer, it's just a lot of money and less prospects. With deGrom, it's more so the prospects. So I would Max Scherzer for $30 million a year for the next 4 years. The guy's still really good. I don't see him slowing down anytime soon. So
Velocity's still there, all that fun stuff. So I know he's not slowing down.
I'm going to say no on deGrom just because he was so good last year. I think his asking price is crazy. And for Scherzer, there's more money involved, which means less prospects.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but both of them, not going to happen. And then the next one, Eovaldi and Kelly again. We talked about that. And then the last one, Patrick Corbin and Joe Kelly. Talked about him. So, we went over a lot of the trade targets, a couple of other guys before we kind of wrap up here. James Paxton is available, probably. Madison Bumgarner could be available. And then some of the free agents. Charlie Morton is, really good. One of my personal favorites. Jared, do you have anybody else that we didn't mention that you might want to acquire?
Minor league deal, Anthony Bass. That's my guy. I'm super serious on this.
You love this guy.
I really I've been talking about him all offseason. I hope the Angels sign him because he's destined for something really good next upcoming. It's gonna be a minor league deal somewhere, so just keep an eye on Anthony Bass. Not just because it's the last name, Fish last name either. That'd be really fun though to have Bass and Trout on the same team.
Yes, it would be. I feel like we should end the podcast on talking about Anthony Bass. We spent a whole podcast talking about Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom and all these, and then we're gonna end it on Anthony Bass. So
Anthony Bass,
let's do it.
I'm telling you, Jared scouting wise, this is coming out right now. You want Anthony Bass.
All right, let's end this one. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for all the suggestions. That actually helped a lot. That was pretty fun to go through those activities. So tune in next time for episode 62.
Adios.
Surrounded and up against the wall, I'll shred them all and go with you when choices